We're back for the second part of the second part. That's only because, you know, somebody messed with all of my microphone setup and the takedown. Thank you for helping me take down. I just didn't have due diligence in terms of who and what and where. And 20 minutes of button pushing and near obscenity. Yeah, I'm in the office. Lori's laughing at all of this, right? Yeah. Better me than her. That's, if you ask her, that's what she'll say. Okay, so the devotion that you guys were supposed to get was supposed to be one on the Beatitudes. I thought, hey, we've done some lists. Let's do a different list, and those are kind of fun. And hey, the Beatitudes. This is Jesus talking. So, the first one: Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is verse 3. I thought, and in the one that you guys missed because you don't read lips very well, right? Well, too bad. We'll talk about the poor in spirit, and we'll use the rich man and Lazarus. So here goes. There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. At his gate was laid a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar died, and the angels carried him off to Abraham's side. The rich man also died and was buried. In hell, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away, with Lazarus by his side. So he called to him, Father Abraham, have pity on me, and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in the water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony in this fire. So when we read this, there's a whole bunch of conversations, and that was Luke 16, by the way. Whole bunch of conversations that kind of pop up. One, everybody wants to know, is there a rich man and a Lazarus? Are these two guys that Jesus knew personally? So the answer there is, I don't know. It seems to be a parable. It doesn't mean there couldn't actually have been a rich man and a Lazarus. Sure. I mean, he is the Son of God, and he does know the contents of heaven and hell, so maybe. Kind of awkward. The next conversation is one about to what extent can we say from this parable, and we're going to take it as a parable, even though it doesn't say it's a parable. As such, what happens when you die? And to that, Jesus isn't really talking about that. He's giving a moral lesson, so I'm going to sidestep that, although heaven and hell seem to be real, and Jesus takes them for granted and takes that their hearers think that they're for granted. On a different day, we'll have a little discussion on the difference between Hades and Gehenna and hell, and just being dead in the grave and Sheol. So all that's super duper fun. By the way, we're not sure what all of those actually all the way mean. Whatever. Dead's dead. So when we talk about the Beatitudes, right? Those are so called because in Latin, the word for beatus means blessed. Blessed is the one. Here, really quickly, Jesus is doing a wisdom literature thing here. So this blessing is not the same as you get supernatural goodies because I gave them to you as a gift. This blessing here, blessed, means something like fortunate or lucky. And when I translate it, I usually translate it as lucky to irritate the Christians who don't believe in luck. But you can think fortunate or something of that variety, and you'll be fine. So fortunate are the ones who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And then we've got this other story, right? So the last thing this has been used for has been kind of a discussion of, or a wrongful reading of the text in support of the poor. I'm not saying that the poor aren't worthy of support, but there's kind of a theological line running out from liberation theology and some missional folks that says Jesus has a preferential opinion of the poor. He doesn't really seem to. He seems to have a preferential treatment for people. Just people and how you approach him. And maybe the poor in his day are more disposed to hear what he has to say. That's as may be. One of the devotions that didn't upload was a devotion on Exodus 23. So I'll commend all of you to reading Exodus 23, where it says, don't give preferential treatment to the poor. Also, don't give abuse to the poor. People are people, and you need to deal with everybody based on the content of their character and the claims they're making. Heaven forbid, I'm looking kind of at you, allies, content of character. Anyway, so I'm feeling a little fightier today, mostly because I had to redo this whole thing, right? So poor in spirit. Lazarus is poor in spirit. Notice he gets a name and the rich guy doesn't. That's not because the rich guy's rich. That's because the rich guy is not poor in spirit, by which we mean spiritually self-confident. And here, based on the parable and or real life, depending on how you take this, wrongfully so, right? Where's the rich guy end up? Yeah, in hell. And you can keep reading it, and you can see kind of the wrongful approach of his soul, right? So he's not poor in spirit because he is always wanting to send other people, right? Look how he talks to Abraham. Hey, send Lazarus down. Well, wait, can't we send you back up to talk about the horrors? Why wouldn't we do that? Also, then send somebody else, right? And no, right? This whole attitude is not poor in spirit. He's wrongfully spiritually arrogant when he has no ability to be, no desire, no bona fides there, or bona fides, depending on how we'll pronounce it and how much school you got. So what do we do with this devotionally? Well, we're both people in the parable all the time, right? We get that there are days and times when you are the Lazarus, the beggar, with the sores. This is a great coronavirus time to talk about that, right? I've got a cat licking instead of a dog, but same deal. So there are days and times where we are at the feet of Jesus, and it's something to look at. It's something to be mindful of, and to try to pray through that, because we are poor in spirit, and God promises us, God the Son promises us heaven, right? Keep on keeping on. Go back and read First and Second Thessalonians and the letters to the 7 churches, and what you get is when times are bad and when we're Lazarus, God is there, and God has promises for us. So we've got all of these things. We're also, unfortunately, frequently the rich man. We're spiritually arrogant when we have no right to be. And so there's times to kind of sit down and have a hard think about our approach, and a hard think about, now, why are we making these demands of God, or these demands of our church, or these demands of our family? Do we actually have a right to make them? And I'll let you in on a little secret. No, you don't. Luther has a long history, and he's medieval. He's not a Renaissance character at all. And the Lutheran Church is not a Renaissance church or medieval, in the sense of, you don't deserve anything, right? But God in his fatherly mercy gives to us, right? So go back and read that first, second, and third articles of the Creed, right? The Apostles' Creed and Luther's responses to them. So those are all options, and a fantastic time. And there is a sense of, finally devotionally, right, praying that God would soften our heart. I don't think you have much control over which one you are. You have a lot of control of figuring out which one you are at any given moment, and then doing something about it. But you also have a lot of control over figuring out who the people around you are, whether they're the rich man or whether they're Lazarus, and especially going to them and binding up their wounds and showing them compassion when they are Lazarus. So there's the first one. And now I'm going to try desperately to get the second one done and to upload them. So yippee!